Hello, welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us right now on iTunes, please go and leave a 5-star review. For example, I just got this really great new review from Hub of America. The title of the review is Chili Dogs and Chrissie. I've only changed my mind about a person or product twice in my life. I ordered chili dogs for a good 10-year stretch in my late 20s and early 30s, convinced I loved them. I finally realized I was wrong, and I prefer mustard and onions on my hot dogs. I thought Chrissie was just another annoying Yenta. I was wrong. She's pretty funny and not annoying at all. Well, thanks, Hub of America. I'm also really excited to talk to you guys about cushy dreams. This is great for anybody who suffers from anxiety like I do. Like, it literally can derail my whole day if I don't get on top of it. Cushy Dreams offers a full lineup of premium smokable CBD. They specialize in extraordinary CBD-rich hemp flower, aka the bud, in cans, or they have pre-rolled joints. It tastes great. It looks, smells, tastes just like high-quality weed, but it's not. It's just the CBD. You're not going to get high. There's like very little THC in it, under 0.3% THC. So you're not going to go to La La Land. You're not going to get loopy, especially if you're working from home. You know, we're all stressed. We're all dealing with stuff. I really feel like Cushy Dreams has helped me so much with my anxiety. Just like it calms down my body and my mind. And they have several different strains that are indica sativa blends, like Energy, Hustle, Relax, and Dream. I really like the Dream. I really like the Hustle. I want to try a couple of the other ones. So go to cushydreams.com. That's KUSHY dreams.com. Use the promo code CMP. You're going to get 20% off your entire order, and not just your first order, but every order, plus free shipping. Smoke your CBD. Join the millions of people, thousands, millions of people who are sick of vaping and want to just smoke their CBD. A lot of people are sick of vapes and gummies. So if you're like them, head to cushydreams.com. That's KUSHY dreams.com. Use the promo code CMP. I feel like I can't talk today. But you know what I can talk about? Male pubes and junk. I'm very excited to let you all know this episode is brought to you by Manscaped. They are the best in below-the-waist trimming with precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They're based here in the U.S., but they just launched in the U.K., so now all my overseas friends can get in on this deal. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but like months back, Frank nicked his junk, and then we went to fool around, and it was really painful. And now I actually got for Frank the lawnmower from Manscaped, and it worked really, really well. Not only did it work really well for him, and it cut down on nicks and scrapes, but it made his junk look a lot bigger. Like, I'm not gonna say it. I mean, it's already big. It's great. But the Manscaped thing made, like, when there's less pubes around, of course, your junk is gonna look bigger. I'm not the first to say this. So the lawnmower is really, really great. It comes with a battery that lasts up to 90 minutes. It comes with a really great recharging station. It's legit, waterproof, comes with a cutting-edge ceramic blade, and will reduce any awkward grooming accidents. If you're a dude, you got to give this a try. Step up your pube game. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's come out of quarantine. We're starting to date again, meet people. Let's not be afraid. Let's not hole up. You know, I think there's such a strong, like, mind-body connection. And if you're taking care of yourself and you're keeping up your grooming, you're going to feel better. The rest of your day is going to be better. Go to manscaped.com. Use the promo code CMP. You're going to get 20% off your whole order plus free shipping. And ladies, you can get in on this too. If your guy is not the type to buy things for himself, just get it for him. Christmas, Hanukkah, all this shit. The holidays are coming up. This is a perfect thing to get for your dude. Go to manscaped.com. Use the promo code CMP. Get your 20% off plus free shipping. All right. Love you guys.
Am I coming in too hot, too heavy, anything like that?
Good. Yeah, okay. I like it hot and heavy.
I'm
so excited to have this guy back on the pod. The last episode was so great, and people were like, get him back, get him back, get him back. And I don't know how to describe him other than saying, welcome back, Off the Grid Ryan.
Hey, thank you. That's a good way to be described. Undescribable.
For the people that are listening to just the audio version of this are really missing out because Ryan looks very much like almost like to catch a predator. He's like, it's all blue. He's, almost like he's a whistleblower of some kind, trying to remain anonymous. He's not well lit, but for a reason, I think.
I wish I could take the credit, but I'm in the DJ Buddy Show studio. If you ever go on Instagram, the DJ Buddy Show, check it out. World famous DJ Buddy.
What's that about?
He's hooking me up. He makes mixes. Go on to iTunes. You should download, subscribe. He's the man. Just world famous DJ Buddy. I've known him damn near decades now, almost fucking 20 something years. Wow. So he's got this whole awesome setup, and he's like, man, last time you were on Chrissie Mayr, sucked balls. We got to make it better. So he's hooking me up.
Well, hopefully we're not sucking as many balls. No, you do sound great. And
Thanks.
I like the blue. I have the purple going on. I hope this is very soothing to the watcher.
Yeah.
So, Ryan, I had you on because in my research, I kind of came across, I guess we'll call it a conspiracy theory, but I've been hearing a lot of talk about Agenda 21, that it was this idea conceived by the elites or whatever. I don't know. All right, let's slowly get into this because I don't want to jump into deep state right away. The election just happened. Things are still up in the air. Yep. There was clearly a lot of fraud that some people are acknowledging, some people aren't. Even just talking to my own brother who lives in North Carolina, I was like, because I knew he wasn't liberal, like I grew up, he would be reading a Rush Limbaugh book. I always was like, he's a conservative dude, It
seemed like everyone either knew that Biden was going to win or knew that Trump. There was no one maybe, right?
And so I was talking to my brother, and I'm like, did you vote for Trump? He's like, yeah, I went in there knowing I wasn't going to vote for Biden, and then I just looked at my voting sheet, and then I kind of just glazed over and didn't vote for anybody. I was like, what the fuck? I just couldn't believe it, because I thought, here's somebody who knows at least enough to vote, and I guess he just sort of went down and voted for all his local people, and it just, you never know about somebody, right? And then I have my dad in Florida who voted for Biden to impress his new girlfriend. So I feel like the only people in my family I can talk to politics about, other than my boyfriend, of course, is like my sister in Vegas.
Well, I was wrong about the election. Trump winning was definitely not what went down. I got to eat crow. So very much so, I was like, yeah, he's going to win. But, I was off the mark big time. So I'm going to eat crow even though I'm a vegetarian. But how cool was my cryptic blah, 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 fire and blood? I mean, I said the only thing that changes anything is fire and blood. Apparently not so much. I sounded like Nick Nolte in my head. I was
yes, you thought Trump was going to take it away, no issue, no problem.
Yeah, I was wrong. I was very much wrong. So false about that, big time.
Wow, look at these
oh well. I guess we get what we deserve in the un-United States of America. If there's anything that this election proved is that, like, for sure, maybe we do need a fire to completely change us, but I don't know if it's going to. I mean, we got first Trump for 4 years for all the thick-necked, thick-skulled rednecks, everyone that's remember Barry mode, that thought of an old-timey, some sort of nostalgia that was going to save us. But it's not, We got a king tard for the army of tards. There's only like 5 states in this union that is even remotely civil. And I think you guys know who you are.
Who are civil or who are not civil? Because we know New York, no. California, no. So like DC, I mean, anywhere where there's tons of looting and protesting and rioting, I would say that those states are not.
I think it just comes down to numbers. It's that you can't run this many. Imagine if Europe was, Europe is 50 different kind of countries if you think about it, and we have 50 different countries here, all slightly squished in. I mean, I just got back from Arizona a week ago. Not a lot in common with Southern California. I mean, no masks, people are walking around looking happier and freer, but one thing's for sure, it's definitely, I mean, they rub borders, but completely different, like, countries, if you will.
That's comforting to hear because I've been hearing concerns that basically Californians have been migrating to Arizona, thus turning it into basically what Florida was for New Yorkers. You know, like a lot of New Yorkers end up in Florida, they vote the way they voted in New York, and people are concerned that that is what will happen or what is happening with Arizona.
It is. Buckeye, Arizona is the largest growing community in all of our entire United States. And that's the suburbs right like west of Phoenix, if you will. It's seriously, people are going there from droves. I don't just think from California. I think from Utah. I think Nevada is kind of doing the same thing. But I mean, now we got Biden, right? Our creepy, fake, phony ass, weird Biden. Like, look at this face.
He
Look
looks
at
like
this
a
fuck.
wax figure
If you've
already.
gone through as much trauma and death as this man has, you should never smile again. You should be like the old man in the sea and you just like stare off into the abyss every day waiting for like
That's
sweet release.
Yeah, that's the face of decades of dirty deals and selling secrets and just
I mean,
ultimate
I think if
politician.
you're a politician, you're obviously grade A, like scummy, right? You're down for the dirt.
Yeah, you're
But
about the
this
life.
dude, I mean, go back, just look at his record, dude. I love that they're saying more black people voted for Biden than they voted for Obama.
Which is fucking crazy. Like,
Yeah.
uh, and then
Think about like the mall on inauguration day for Obama, and it was just a sea of people. They're saying more people voted for this dude.
I mean, alive people, dead people. You know, I guess we're counting dead people now. I never knew that dead people were such enthusiastic voters.
They're always getting in the way. I mean, this guy's 75 years old. Do you have anyone that's 75 years old in your life?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think anything they say is important besides like
No, no, because one of
the
them is my dad.
snickerdoodle's good?
Yeah,
Yeah, there should be, if it's I think it's 35 in order to become president. There should be a cutoff of
yeah,
when you can. It's like should be like the same thing as like what is it? Retirement 65, right?
yeah.
How is it that you can be a president after retirement?
I don't understand it, especially with as many fumbles and foibles as Biden has made. You know, we've all seen too many instances where he can't think of a word or can't finish a sentence or confuses Trump for George Bush.
I mean, I've been there. I mean, we're doing it right now. It's always a little like you're just on the tip of your tongue, just dancing. But I love it when he would just be like, "Come on, man,"
You know the thing.
and you're like, "You're a president, dude."
Yeah,
So I just want to say to that guy, like, I never liked any president. I've never, my whole life. I mean, I think if you like a president, that guy better be your uncle or something, dude. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm just not a team player, so I called it one way or the other. We were going to lose, and if I don't. I was in San Francisco on the day after election, and people were literally dancing in the street. But I'm like, for what, guys? For what? Like, what's this guy going to bring in? You know, I mean, like, look at this fucking guy.
Yeah. I think
So
if you
yeah,
like a president, it's because you don't know enough about them. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think it's a different story with Trump. I feel like I really believe he's for the people and for the working class. No, you think he's just? Do you think he's controlling
there's.
the opposition? Do you think he's a?
You ever listen to the Dollop, Gareth Reynolds and Dave Anthony
No.
on all things comedy? The Dollop, they break down like historical figures, and they did a fuck, dude. I think they did a 3-part on Trump,
Yeah.
and it's just based out of facts and out of court hearings and out of there's nothing like it's not even about his quotations that he said. It's about his actual actions, and that's the way I think you can judge people. Man, he's not a good dude either. So it's like good that he's out, but really, they're saying like I get people telling me like he's not done yet. Watch, they're gonna flip it. He's gonna get all these votes coming
Yeah,
in,
I've
and
been
then
hearing that
that's what's
too.
gonna cause the civil war.
I've been hearing that too. I've been hearing that it's going to come down to Amy Coney Barrett being the sort of final decider, which will enrage the RBG or the RGB people even further. I'm like, what? Roy G. Biv? I'm just going to call her Roy G. Biv.
Completely. I mean, politics is as confusing as Agenda 21 is. I mean, people kind of have a just idea of what it is. They've heard about it, but they really have never like broken it down or had someone explain it to them, because if they
Yeah.
did, they wouldn't be all or nothing with it. You know what I mean?
I've heard about it and I was frightened. Like I don't know what rabbit hole I was in, but I just was like, all right, we've heard about people, the elites and such that are for depopulation, that are like, you know, basically everyone's, I imagine like a nightmare scenario where it's like, if you don't have an underground bunker, you're not in the know. If you don't have your own, basically
Hmm.
that they're gonna, because we've already seen what Gates has done with his vaccines in places like India and Africa, and we already know that like he's into eugenics. His dad was obsessed with Planned Parenthood. Like we know that the guys at the top, all the banking families, they want to control, who breeds with who, and they want to depopulate. So it's like, and then I started hearing about Agenda 21. I'm like, okay, it sounds like they were planning for next year to be the year that they start. I was hearing they're going to throw people in camps. I was hearing like, Tom Hanks's son said that anybody on the fringe, they're going to be first. Anybody who's not like with Hollywood is good. And I mean, I was hearing a ton of shit, freaking out. And then they're like, well, because of the Pizzagate stuff that came out, Agenda 21 has been delayed. It's been, that plan was ruined. And now they're going to focus on Agenda 2030, and they're going to plan for it to be. So basically, like, there's 10 years left of regular life, and like shit is really going to pop off in 2030. And so I just was panicking, hearing a lot of that, and I'm trying to just get as much information as I can.
And 2030 is the number that David Attenborough and all the people that are environmentally conscious, they're talking about. We have another 10 years left to like try to steer this boat, to try to change the direction we're heading. They say we have 10 years left until the western shelf at Antarctica just comes right off. And
Just
then
melts
that's
off
going to
like a like.
melts off. And then that gives 3 feet of rise coastally everywhere globally. And I want you to like go down to Miami and realize that all of Miami is underwater. All of Venice, Italy,
So
and
get
Venice
in your
Beach.
beach vacations now.
Yeah, so it's one of those things. Well, that's one of the first misconceptions about Agenda 21 is that it refers to 2021 when really, like, I'm going to give you some of the boring stuff just so that you can pass it on. And so Agenda 21 is a non-binding, voluntary implemented action plan of the United Nations related to sustainable development. So
Okay,
this is
that
like
sounds good.
voluntary. Yeah, it sounds all good. It always sounds good.
Nice.
It was a core work product from the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development held in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in 1992. Right? Little weird that it wasn't held somewhere else. I don't know, maybe the UN in New York
Mm.
City, So, succinctly, Agenda 21 is a comprehensive blueprint of action to be taken globally, nationally, and locally by organizations of the UN, governments, and major groups in every area in which humans directly affect the environment. So, it kind of makes sense that it's in Brazil because that's the rainforest. They're trying to get Brazilians on board back in 92 to be like, hey, guys, like gorgeous tree. Can we not cut it down for some more cattle? And they're like, nah, dog. We're gonna. So the 21 in Agenda 21 refers to the 21st century. They're trying to make these things happen in our lifetime, roughly. Because right now, if you even think about the population, we're at 7.8 billion people, give or take a couple million, 100 million. So this blueprint has been affirmed and modified by subsequent UN conferences since 1992. In September of 2002, the first World Public Meeting on Culture, held in Porto Alegre, resolved to create guidelines for cultural and local policies. Now it's getting really weird that we're talking about like culture, right?
Hmm.
Like those words, I need you to always, when anyone uses the word culture, you should like really start thinking about what they're talking about because
Aren't they trying to link, like, I mean, ultimately, like, if we're doing devil's advocate, right? If we're speaking on behalf, like, if we're trying to get into the mind of like the UN people, right? The people that whose idea this is, it's
mhm,
all about, sustainability is the big buzzword, and it's like, all right, well, consumption, right? So are they trying to argue that consumption and culture are linked?
completely, yeah. I mean, on the West, we're consumer. We just buy, and we buy it all from the East. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
and then we just all dump it into the ocean. So I get we're one world, one love, one planet, you know. It's one of these things where it's like, damn, the UN in theory sounds so cool. It's kind of like
Yeah.
the Star Trek, like whatever that is, the Academy. But a final document was approved 2004, right, in Barcelona. Now, you notice all these three things I've said, they've never been on the United States. It's always in another country where, like, getting this shit done. That was, like, when I started researching it, that was my first flag of, like, well, I don't like how they're not trying to bring this home to us because we are the ones that consume more than anyone, you know?
I mean, doesn't India consume more than we do? I mean, we're not, I don't think we're number one.
I think it's
We're definitely
just
not
by
number one in
sheer numbers.
population. Yeah.
Yeah, just by sheer numbers, but they're not buying plastics. They're not buying like one-time use bottles, you know. It's very drastically different. So by 2010, over 400 governments and organizations had joined Agenda 21 for culture in some way. By 2015, membership exceeded 500 now. All right? The United Nations has a program that monitors and evaluates progress towards the adoption of Agenda 21 across the world. Most countries' progress can be found on the UN's Economic and Social Affairs website under the Division for Sustainable Development page. I mean, if you want to have fun and kind of fall asleep late at night, pop this shit open, try to read it, it's not going to work. Or you go to the CIA website and then type in Agenda 21 and see what weird files they show you there. I don't know if you've gone this far down the hole yet, Chrissy, and you're actually hanging out on the CIA's website, but
No, not
you
yet.
should. If you spell Illuminati backwards, Illuminati, I think, .com backwards, it goes to the CIA's website.
What?
Hmm.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
almost positive about that. It used to. So this is all outside the United States, right?
read all
Agenda
this
20.
language, like none of this language sounds like scary, right? If you don't know anything and you're reading this, you go, okay, great. They want all countries to be on the same page when it comes to saving the environment, right? We're making sure that I don't know.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
saving something for the future as opposed to completely. I mean, the whole idea of sustainable development goals, they have that corporate sound to it that once you start to really look into New World Order type shit, they love corporate speak. They do
Right.
that shit so that people like us immediately tune out. So Agenda 21 in the United States, how does that affect us, right? Well, the United States is a signatory country to Agenda 21, and since it's not a treaty, it's not possible to be formally debated or voted on by the Senate, nor introduced or ratified by the executive branch. That's where they got us.
So
Because this thing
because
is
of the
outside
nature
of our.
the US, because of like how we work out our shit basically, like maybe it's harder. Like we're making it harder. The US makes it harder because of I guess the way our government works or all of our freedoms basically. It's harder to kind of
They purposely drafted this, then they ratified it, and then they signed it outside of the United States. Therefore, it could never be ratified, voted against, or anything the executive branch. They did this purposely. It's like when you don't go to a cockfight in your own backyard. You got to go a couple streets down so that you be like, nah, it wasn't me.
yeah.
So there's
I don't
nothing
listen to the
that's going to
cock.
change. Have you ever? I'll take you to a cockfight next time you're
Oh
in
no,
LA.
I don't like animals like
Neither do I, but you got to live sometimes. You got to experience it. So here's the thing, though, all right? However, several congressmen and senators have spoken on the floor of Congress directly in support of Agenda 21, like Representative Nancy Pelosi and Senator John Kerry and Senator Harry Reid. These names, if you look at what they're all about trying to get us on board with the UN.
right.
It's not a bad thing to try to save the environment for the future, but when these things can directly affect your life and you can't change it, that's creepy to me, you know? During the last decade, opposition grew to some aspects of Agenda 21 with the United States at the local, state, and federal levels. Notably, remember the Tea Party? They linked activists view Agenda 21 as a conspiracy by the United Nations to deprive individuals of property rights.
I guess that's what I was seeing.
Yeah. Locally across the United States, over 528 cities are members of the ICLEI, International Sustainability Organization, that broadly helps implement Agenda 21 and local Agenda 21, because those are two different things. It's trippy, man. Like, I live in LA and Southern California. I pick up all the trash I can. I don't litter when I possibly can. If it blows out the window, I feel like a dickhead. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I get why they're trying to save the environment. I mean, I'm totally a tree hugger, but it's all about rights. So Alabama became the first state to prohibit government participation in Agenda 21.
Hey, thanks, Alabama.
So good go. What is that? Roll Tide. Is that what they're all about?
I have no idea.
So the gist of this is basically a totalitarian world cabal is trying to depopulate the planet by 90%, and the UN is in on it, as are numerous governments, including yours. This is what conspiracy theorists believe. At the end of the day, they think they're just trying to get in further and further until we cut down on these numbers, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember when we were talking about this, you're like, hey, what do you think of Agenda 21? I was like, it's real. I like doing little cryptic messages and waiting for you to reply. But I was like, it's all about World War water. And you're like, huh? And then I sent you a couple articles and you're like, what do we do? And then I came back and said, don't breed. And you're like, don't breed.
I was like, oh no, but what about my eggs? Have you watched The Mandalorian at all?
I have watched the first season with my nephew.
It's so fucking good. And the newest season just came out, and there's 2 episodes so far, but the latest episode that just came out, I'm not going to ruin anything by explaining this, but this is kind of how I feel about like my own fertility. So there's this like lizard lady creature, and then somehow she gets wrapped up into agreeing, like Mandalorian, like the third party was like, oh, you basically have to give this lizard creature lady a ride back to this planet where she's carrying her eggs, right, in a big thing that looks like a big like container of bubble tea, basically. And her eggs are like all fist size, and she's just holding on to her last like 20 eggs, and Mando's like, oh, I don't want to have to like deal with another person, like I already have like baby Yoda, like, and he's just all about being alone and being a daddy and like being in charge. He's like, I gotta give this lizard lady a ride, and she's like, meh. And then there was this, and then she gets caught, she's always like in the wrong place. She goes into this hot spring, and she's like, but it's warm. And then basically we find out like baby Yoda's been like secretly eating her eggs, like, and, like in such a cute little way, like he's just like rah! He just like pops another one in, and he's like, and Mando's like, no, and he's like, we know he eats frogs, so he's like, but yeah, it's so good. And then all of a sudden, like at the end, she's like counting her eggs, and she's like, but this is all I have. So anyway, when you told me not to breed, I felt like lizard lady, and I was like, oh no, I have everybody telling me I need to get married and have a baby and how good of a mom I would be, but then I learn about this shit, and if I'm like, well, if we only have 10 years left, like what kind of person am I if I bring a baby into the world for selfish reasons, if we're all just about to be depop?
Who knows? But isn't that the whole belief that everyone's going to give birth to the next savior of this planet? Isn't that why everyone
Maybe
gives
have him inside of me or her.
There you go. Why not? Just make sure it's in a manger with like a little mule and some chickens to view.
How about an apartment? I feel like my apartment is manger-esque.
I mean, people don't want to think about water because we just turn on the sink and it comes out, and we just turn it into hot. We only think about it when, they had those parties up in the Hollywood Hills during the quarantine, and I remember the one thing that got them stopped is they were turning off the water to the place.
Right, and so, weren't they saying that was because of the fires?
Saying because of fires and because of quarantine, they're like, you're not supposed to be socially distancing. So it's awesome to think that they're even showing us the power that water has over our life. Power has the water to transform like everything. It is the reason that we are here. We're made up of 72% of it. The earth is 74% of it. Only 1.2% of fresh water is even like capable to be drank, and amongst that, like, we don't even have access to most of it. So while everyone's thinking about gold, oil, and drugs, as me and Sam used to say on tinfoil, gold, oil, and drugs, it's what rules the world. It's God. At the end of the day, it's water. It's the reason this blue little jelly bean is what it is. And a disturbing new trend in the water sector is accelerating worldwide. I mean, I started looking into this shit and talk about needing to like just close your laptop and just like pretend like it's not real. The new water barons, the Wall Street banks, and elitist multi-billionaires are buying up water all over the world at unprecedented rate. Familiar mega banks and investing powerhouses such as Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan Chase, Citigroup, UBS, Deutsche Bank, Credit Suisse, and Barclays Bank, the Blackstone Group, which is super creepy, you should check them out, and HSBC, the same bank that was just popped a couple years ago for money laundering the cartels.
Ooh.
Yeah. Among others, are consolidating their control over water worldwide.
Like buying water factories, like how Nestle or Dasani, like are they?
So Nestle owns 50 companies of just water alone, besides all the sugary stuff they make. They buy up the aquifers. So it's the whole idea of I drink your milkshake. Even though I haven't seen that movie, I've heard it enough to understand the reference.
Bring the boys to the yard. That's all that's important.
I mean, right there, I think I even saw you sip some water right now as we're talking about
No, I'm like, and I am chronically dehydrated. I never drink enough water, and now I'm worried.
it. You got to get that Poland Springs in you.
Okay.
I mean, wealthy tycoons such as T-Bone. Have you ever heard of T. Boone Pickens?
I have never heard of T. Boone Pickens. He sounds like an old prospector.
I know. He literally sounds like a carpetbagger. Like, woo-wee, T-Bone Pickens in town. Yeah, former President George W. Bush, Hong Kong's Li Ka-shing, and the Philippines' Manuel V. Pangilinan, and other Filipino billionaires. People don't know the Philippines got billionaires, like multiples.
Yeah, they've been low key. I have never heard about a single Filipino billionaire.
Oh, they're doing it. And they're doing it in, I guarantee you, in some Tony Soprano gangster-ass way.
Wow.
I know it for a fact. And others are buying up thousands of acres of land with aquifers, lakes, water rights, water utilities, and shares in water engineering and technology companies all over the world. So these guys know the next big grab, it's not about dinosaur bones. It's not about diamonds. It's not about the cobalt, a mineral that you need in order to have these fucking awesome cell phones. No, it's about water.
Research.
Because, like I said, there's only so much to drink. The second disturbing trend is that while the new water barons are buying up water all over the world, governments are moving fast to limit citizens' ability to become water self-sufficient, as evidenced by the well-publicized Gary Harrington's case in Oregon, in which the state criminalized the collection of rainwater in 3 ponds located on his private land by convicting him on 9 counts and sentencing him to 30 days in jail.
This is his own land. He gets in trouble for basically saving rainwater on his own land.
Yeah, let's put this criminalization into perspective, okay?
How long ago? How recently was this?
This was back, dude, this I think is 2017 is what this article's from.
Okay, wow,
yeah.
Really not that long ago.
And you don't want to tread on people in Oregon, man. Like, Oregon is the leading state of white supremacy in the entire nation. It always has been. People want to say it's up in the tip-top part of Idaho up there by Coeur d'Alene. Not so much. It's Oregon. The idea of the state of Jefferson, have you ever heard of this?
No, I've heard of the Jeffersons.
So I wish it was that cool because they're not moving on up. The state of Jefferson is a section of Oregon and Northern California that wants to secede away and become the state of Jefferson. And the logo is like a happy face with like X's over its eyes. It's creepy.
Wasn't there going to be a state named Jefferson like way back when?
I mean, the idea that it's the guy that is known for boning his slaves is kind of cool, but also kind of creepy that that's how they want it. And he was a redhead too, Jefferson.
Well then.
Yeah. And Benjamin Franklin.
I disavow.
But so let's just check it out. It's a strange new world order in which multi-billionaires, elitist banks can own aquifers and lakes, but ordinary citizens cannot even collect rainwater or snow runoff for their own backyards and private lands.
Seems fun.
Right? I talked about T. Boone Pickens earlier. Well, billionaire T. Boone Pickens own more water rights than any individuals in America. That's why you should know this fucker's name. The rights are over enough of the Ogallala, so hard to pronounce, Ogallala, aquifer.
Yeah.
Ogallala.
Ogallala.
To drain
Lady
Six-
Ogallala.
this dude had 65 billion gallons of water a year, basically, from that single aquifer. But the
Jeez.
ordinary citizen, Gary Harrington, cannot collect enough water for 170 acres of his own land. He goes, this fool had to go to jail for 30 days.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. I mean, don't be surprised. It's World War water for a reason. I mean, let's talk real, like, numbers. Global population. 7.8 billion people as of March 2020, estimation, give or take, right? It took over 2 million years of human history for the world's population to reach 1 billion, and only 200 years to reach 7 billion.
Jeez.
That's not a good rate. Where are we going to go? We are going to the cliff. The world's population is projected to reach 8.5 billion by 2030. That's why we need to turn this shit around by 2030.
Ooh.
I mean, I don't know. I've only been to New York one time, and I actually enjoyed being in the bustle of all the traffic and whatnot. I don't like being on the 405 during rush hour.
Yeah.
That's right now at 7.8. I can't imagine another billion and a half. I mean, we're talking 9.7 billion people by 2050 and exceeding beyond 11 billion by 2100.
Ooh.
All right. And you said it earlier, with India expected to surpass China as the most populous around 7 years from right now. And Nigeria is going to overtake the United States to become the world's third largest country in 35 years.
Wow.
No one, I've been telling people, I've been telling a couple people, Sam was one of them, about you need to get the word out about Nigeria. Nigeria is falling as we speak. It's most war, most violence because they got inspired by our BLM. But guess what? They don't have rights like us. They get their skulls cracked. I mean, you know Godfrey. Imagine an entire nation of Godfreys right now. Right now, they're completely being oppressed. The most violence that's happened in 3 decades. It's bonkers to me. It's like,
in Nigeria, they're inspired by our BLM in this country, but so do they have BLM in Nigeria, or is it called something else?
They have police brutality is what they have. I don't know what the exact name of it is, but see, the thing about Nigeria is there's Hollywood, there's Bollywood, and then there's Nollywood, and that's the Nigerian horror movie. They make the most amount of horror movies per capita, and Nigeria has the most amount of educated collegiate students that get shipped out to the rest of the countries. Some belief that Nigeria might be the home of the original Garden of Eden. There's ideas that's the whole concept. There's the Black Kings of Egypt that they always get written out of time again. I mean, Nigeria is popping off is what I'm saying. And in 35 years from now, there's going to be more people there than here.
Why is that? Why do some places population grow quicker than others? I mean, is it because we're more in this country? It's more I guess use myself as an example. I'm oh, my career instead of having kids.
You said it. I used to be a cable guy. I was the cable guy. And I remember one time I did a house and it had 4 bedrooms, but 6 people lived there. Right. And I was dang, what's going on here? I was just joking with the lady and she's oh, the lights went out a lot when we were younger. So she means there's nothing for poor people to do but to bone. So poor countries have lots of people.
Wow.
All there is to
nice,
do.
Though.
Yeah,
how could I have more sex? I'm ew.
That's what you're going to call it when the lights go out. So, I mean, whenever anyone talks about Agenda 21, they love to somehow shoehorn in the Georgia Guidestones. Have you ever heard of them? No? Okay. Cool. Well, then I'll tell you about them, actually. So the Georgia Guidestones is a granite monument that was erected in 1980 by an anonymous man using the pseudonym of Robert C. Christian. All right. The monument is located in Elbert County, about 90 miles east of Atlanta, Georgia. Due to the secretive nature in which the monument was commissioned and the ominous inscriptions on the monument itself, the Georgia Guidestones have been the subject of many conspiracy theories over the years.
So how old? Okay, this was made in 1980.
So anonymous donor said, hey, I want you to make it exactly like this. The inscriptions is going to say this in different languages. And
because
the person
it looks much older than 1980. This looks like
Well, that's what's good about using granite, and that's the reason that our ancients used granite is it'll last the test of time. Well, I mean, it's one thing to talk about them, but you really got to know what they say. So here's what it is. I'm going to just read it to you. Written on these giant stones are 10 guidelines for humanity. 1. Maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. 2. Guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. This is when like people start hearing that and they're like, I don't know, this sounds a little Nazi-like.
A little
3.
eugenic-y.
Yeah, a little eugenic-y. 3. Unite humanity with a living new language. 4. Rule passion, faith, and tradition, and all these things with tempered reason. 5. Protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. 6. Let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court.
We already have that. I mean, the UN was already a thing in 1980.
They want a world court. And this way, all of the external disputes get resolved right there. 7. Avoid petty laws and useless officials. 8. Balance personal rights with social duties. 9. Prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite. And 10. Be not a cancer on the earth. Leave room for nature. Leave room for nature. Said it twice at the end.
Which sounds nice. I mean, yeah, that's nobody wants to cut down trees. They don't have to. Everyone likes plants. Everyone likes animals. But to say it twice, like, what do you think that means?
I was a nature lover, and
Back away.
so people. I mean, I was a person that I heard about the Georgia Guidestones. I'm like, it's just some kook. But the key is about Robert C. Christian, and the idea is, if you know anything about stones, well, you're talking about Freemasons, and then an offshoot of the Freemasons, and kind of a lot like them, is called the Rosicrucians. And so the idea of Robert C. Christian, it sounds almost very close to what you would consider a Rosicrucian. And so what they're thinking, that's why people are like, dude, some New World Order fool, some Mason made that. Well, considering the current world population is somewhere in the neighborhood of 7.8 billion, imagine a world inhabited by only 500 million people.
Your 405 would be a lot better.
Yeah. And they say, what? Right now, coronavirus has got like 50 million cases worldwide. I like that they say cases, but they never tell us how many people have really kicked the bucket.
Right. They're fudging. They've been fudging the numbers.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where, yeah, maybe someone that made the Georgia Guidestones kind of had some idea that eventually there was going to be something that's going to cull the cattle, and we'll get down to 500 million somehow. I don't know.
Well, I mean, the projected death rates for COVID were 2 million. And I was just listening to this guy. What's his name? I just sent this link to a friend of mine. He's a kind of a Christian guy, Clay Clark. He was talking about like, yeah, why, everyone's projection for COVID deaths were 2 million. Well, who made these projections? And no one's really looking at that. And then you look at the people who made the projections, and then like just the ways in which so much of it leads back to Bill Gates is always kind of interesting to me.
Always. Yeah, his name has always been brought up with Agenda 21 because there's a section of it talking about getting vaccinations and the idea of malaria worldwide. Like, more people have died who have ever lived. All people who've ever died, more people have died of malaria than anything. And all time. Not heart attacks, not disease, malaria. Well, I guess that's a disease. So I get his idea of trying to get a vaccination out to places like Africa and get mosquito nets because we don't die of malaria in America anymore.
Wow. So Bill Gates figures it's easier to like chunk off most of Africa because there's more mosquitoes out there, and they can. Right. If they're more malaria sensitive, he figures he can like knock off some numbers there.
It makes sense for like pharmaceutical companies and whatnot to invest in both the rainforest in South America and what's going on deep in the jungles of Africa, because I don't know if it's maybe I got brainwashed as a kid to think that the Medicine Man with Sean Connery, like everything, all of our diseases cures are like just a jungle away, So it makes sense that we would try to encourage Africans to not make as many Africans and then to try to take care of the land in a different way. But it's so hard to like impose Western ideals and when they're just trying to drink a glass of water, let alone think about trying to get, enough for the whole village.
Yeah. Wow.
It's like in when our conversations going back and forth, you're like, "What do we do?" And I was like, "It's already been written." And then I used to do like LSD and read the Book of Revelations and just get this like double psychedelic effect because I'm like, this is probably what he was feeling like, when he was
Wow.
getting, because it's the Revelation of John. And in New York City, they actually have a cathedral to John the Divine. That's who he is. And you should go to it. It's up, it's close to Harlem, I want to say. It's somewhere up there above the north side of the park, and there's the St. John the Divine Cathedral, and in there it shows like all these his visions of what he saw for the Book of Revelations, like the destruction of Babylon,
Wow.
which looks a lot like New York City, the way they portray it on the cathedral walls, which is weird.
Yeah. And I've
But
been
here,
hearing some Christian folks saying
that it's the end
that
times.
yeah, is this Revelations, like, trying to make sense of what's happening now.
I mean, so here it is. Here's a good one for you. Revelations 8:11. The name of the star is called Wormwood, and a third of the waters became wormwood, and many men died from the waters because they were bitter. So the idea is that there's like a asteroid, a star that falls down from the sky in the book of Revelations, and it basically what radiation would do is destroy the water and make it sick for the people, right? That's weird. That it's called wormwood, and it's weird that they're saying that's going to happen. But what's weirder is that NASA identified an asteroid that has, they say, a less than a 2% chance to hit Earth, and they named it Apophis after the Egyptian god of chaos. But it also means wormwood. And so they went out of their way to say that they've looked at it, they see its trajectory, and they know that Friday the 13th, this is in April of 2029, Apophis is going to pass between us and the moon. Us and the moon. Not on the other side of the moon, us and the moon. And this thing is 1,100 foot wide asteroid, right?
Yeah.
It's going to fly past us in 2029, and then it's going to come back. The next time it comes back, all right, the asteroid 99942, Apophis, will come within 19,000 miles of Earth on April 13th, Friday the 13th.
Oh gosh.
Scientists say most asteroids pass near Earth aren't more than 30 feet wide, making Apophis a rare opportunity for research. The asteroid will be visible to the naked eye years before it gets to us, and will look like a moving star and a point of light, according to NASA. Apophis was discovered in 2004, and after tracking it for all these years now, scientists say the asteroid has a 1 in 100,000 chance of striking Earth decades in the future, somewhere after 2060.
Are those good odds or bad odds? I mean,
Well, it doesn't end there with wormwood, right? Because wormwood was the name of a project that the CIA put on back in the day, all right? It's worth a bing. You should definitely bing wormwood. In the early morning of November 28th, 1953, a 42-year-old Army scientist named Frank Olson went out the window of a New York City's Stalter Hotel. He was one of the first victims of LSD. Like I say, it's worth a bing. They called that project Wormwood. All right, I'll give you one more wormwood. And it's not quite wormwood, but it's worm tongue, and it's close enough for me. I don't know if you remember the Lord of the Rings, but there was that guy that got into the king's ear by whispering into his ear the whole time, and his name was Worm Tongue. And so the idea is like the king can be corrupted with his mind by using like all this bullshit. So right now, whether I tell you or not that wormwood is coming, whether I'm like in your ear like worm tongue, making you literally think the sky is falling, or NASA's just getting us all a little amped up for no reason. Either way, it's all creepy. It's all creepy to me. I don't even. It's one of those things where it's like I wish they all didn't line up. The more like and now like it was one of those things I looked up on a bar. I was in San Francisco and I go to a coffee spot and it's also a bar at night. And across the way I could see that there was an old bottle and I was like, "Hey, what's that?" And the guy was like, "Oh, that's just that's some like absinthe, wormwood." And I was like, "Oh, that's what that stuff's called?" And I was like, "Dude, I'm literally learning about this in every
Yeah, I'm having a like, because I've never heard of like this wormwood stuff before, so I guess I'm having a hard time like
You'll hear about it more and
making the
more.
connection.
Let's say they say COVID has a 2% chance of killing you. I think it's even like less than that, 1.8. So if people acted the way they do with COVID, imagine how would they do if they knew there was a 2% chance or 1 in 100,000% chance that this asteroid is going to hit us. And if they knew about it 9 years down the road, how would people be acting?
Oh, hold on, Ryan. I gotta pause you for 1 second. Okay, we're back. Okay,
Hey,
Ryan. Sorry, where were you?
yeah, no, I was just saying, like, if people are acting the way they are right now, like this with COVID, literally like wide stepping each other and canceling family events, what are people going to be doing if when they can start seeing in broad daylight a quote unquote a body coming towards them, a bright star in the sky? It's an asteroid, and I just think people are going to like go ape shit, and I think this is like they need to figure out how to control mass populace in order to then figure out what they're going to do as it gets closer and closer. Because I mean, if people are acting like this over a 2% chance of dying from this,
Huh.
you
But
know,
people are acting this way because the media is so largely responsible for like feeding our fears as a people, and it's the misinformation I think that makes people freak out more than they need to.
maybe it's because I don't consume too much media that I get freaked out by other people that are like level-headed and calm. That when I see them all shook up,
Yeah.
it's well, one of the things I learned about myself, it's surprising me that I did learn about myself while researching all this, is that I have similarities with the Illuminati. Three in particular. One is that less is better. Less people is a good thing, right?
Starting to sound like my dad, but yeah.
All right. Two, the profane deserve their fate.
What do you mean by profane?
Exactly. And number three, chaos reigns supreme. I mean, look at it. Look at the world around us. Chaos. And I know it's been said before, but I stand with mayhem. I stand with Ari. I stand with chaos. And so you're seeing a world right now. The only way we can control it is through chaos, and then you can set the boundaries. So,
For example, yeah, like if you make the quarantine and the lockdown so unbearable, that's a good way to get people clamoring for a vaccine. If they see that as the only way out and a return to the supposed normal. And I feel like just with New York alone, like teasing, oh, the vaccine's ready. I've also heard like, yeah, it's been ready. It's been in hospitals. Like it's been ready to go for a while because like this has all been kind of planned a few years in the making, right? And then you have Cuomo being like, well, we're not going to let New Yorkers have the vaccine until Biden administration is like fully in, because they don't want to cut any of the credit over to Trump. So it's almost like there's been this sort of teasing of like, we have the virus, but we can't give it to you, oh, it's ready, it's not ready. And I think that psychologically what that's doing to people is like, oh, you want something you can't have, or like, oh, we got to get it, or like only a lucky few are gonna be able to get it at first. And I think people wanting it is going to bypass like their own common sense. I feel like we're being set up to like where that's the
yeah.
only return to normalcy is this fucking vaccine that may or may not have be like
Would you
chipped in
take
our
it?
brains.
Would you take it if it was offered?
Fuck no.
See, I don't know. I haven't met anyone that says they would. And like, I have someone in my life right now that is like one of my family members has really like immune deficient type thing, and there's talk of like if I'm going to go hang out with them, I need to go get tested. And I'm like, that's $150 test, like to come hang out and barbecue. What the?
Yeah, I've also heard that that's supposedly another theory is like, well, unless you get a test or get the vaccine, they're not going to let you fly. Then they're eventually not going to let you go grocery shopping. But these are
Hmm.
all things that's like, conspiracy theories into the future.
Well, yeah, every time someone wants to say that,
Oh,
I'll be like,
your audio sounds a little
am I hot right here?
funky.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're too hot.
Sorry. Am I real hot right now? Get away from the mic.
Yeah,
How's that? Is that better?
it's less. Yeah, it's better.
Okay. I don't remember what I was to say.
Oh,
Yeah.
about making people want the vaccine, that limiting travel unless you get it, limiting the
Yeah,
things
it's
you
like I like good anime. I don't like all anime, but there's this one anime show I somehow like fell into during this whole quarantine, and it's called Psycho Pass. And the idea is that in the future we would wear a visible pass that would show our psychological like profile. And then once you did and had too many like negative thoughts or like homicidal thoughts, your pass would change colors and they'd come and like collect you and take you away because you
What?
weren't psychologically allowed to be out. So that's what I think of when I think of like this influenza pass card, like the idea of right now in your passport, you can grab your passport up in I believe the right hand corner when you open it up. Yeah, there's a RFID. It's a radio frequency identification chip, and it's been in there ever since post the 9/11 world, so that we know where our citizens are at any given moment when they're off, off and doing what they're doing, being tourists. So the idea would be it wouldn't be that hard to put a sliver RFID in your
Right, because it's
anything.
small. Yeah.
So that's what I think, and that's the whole idea. Is then they're going to trace where you've been, and then since have you come across where people say they don't take cash, that we're not taking
Yes,
cash?
I was actually like cash shamed at Sephora. I was just trying to buy like a lipstick, and this was like a few months back, like, more. I don't know, maybe it's definitely during the summer. I was just trying to buy like one lipstick, and the girl was like, "Oh, you don't have contactless payment?" I'm like, "No," and I don't know anybody who does. Like, what the fuck? I'm like, let me just buy this thing.
Contactless.
So weird. It was so weird.
All that. I love to like Taco Bell or any of the drive-throughs. They're like, we now wash our hands. Like, what were you doing before? Jesus.
Yeah. We were going to the bathroom and making tacos in the bathroom. 'Cause we
Well,
got,
when's the next time you're going to be out here on the West Coast?
I don't have any plans yet. I was
Mm.
just out there, like just out there in March, like right in the very nick of time, like before, I flew out of there to Philly on, I think, the 12th, like just as things were shutting down, people were getting crazy nervous. Because
Are
I
you
remember I
getting back
met
to?
you. I met you at like the very, very beginning of my like red pill journey. I was like a tiny little like bud, and now I'm like a full on tree, just trying to throw as many seeds out possible.
Well, don't go spiraling down the rabbit hole too far.
Okay.
There isn't an end to it, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true. You just have to like cut yourself off. And I'm also like, if I notice my mood is really like, I get really like, if I'm brooding a lot, or if I just like get really down, like I have to really snap out of it and listen to some upbeat, like some good tunes, or I need to move or exercise, or like
Hell yeah.
you really have to like, I have to like shift and take a bath or something.
Well, when you're ready to talk to a real like, conspiracy like guru, I'll hook you up with Greg Carlwood from the Higher Side Chats. He's like
Ooh.
the man. He's probably the most trusted man in like quote unquote the fringe world because he's
Okay.
very he takes a nice even keel to it. He doesn't fall too hard on one side or the other.
That's good. Yeah. It's good to know. It's good to be able to like do devil's advocate, right? Because you got to be able to speak to the largest audience you can. So,
And I think that's what you're doing with like how you're reaching more people than because so many conspiracy theorists are just like straight white males, and now we've got a straight white female or straightish white female-ish.
yeah,
So
yeah, mostly straight. I've had my fun, Ryan.
yeah, I
I've
saw.
hooked up with some chicks.
Yeah, I watched the wet spot, and by the way, I will drive to New York City to be a part of like an auction off a conspiracy theorist to a
Yes.
panel of some beautiful women, if you
Trying to
will.
get to porn stars. Ultimately, all my male friends are like, "Hey, hook me up with a porn star." No, it's okay.
Just put me in the same room as Kim Condon, and I'll do the rest.
Oh, okay, okay. Kim Congdon, not a porn star, so could be doable. Could be. I could help make that happen. I definitely
She's
know
a
her.
comedian, so that means that she's already damaged, so it can't be that hard.
Yeah,
Just
you're
so you know.
already you're halfway there.
There you go.
Maybe she'll hear this. Ryan, this was great. So informative, so interesting as always. Do you want people to find you? I would normally say, where can people find you and follow you? But you're sitting there in the dark, so I don't know.
You can find me on Instagram at nontute. That's Nontute. And if you want to give me a call, you can call me at 323-285-0663.
Oh, perfect. Wow, look at you. Is that your real phone number?
It's a Google Voice number, and it pops up and shows me what's being said into it. And sometimes I went through a little dark period where I just would randomly call back these people, and they'd be like, "Hello," I'd be like, "Hello."
It's
And they'd be
me.
like, "Who is this?" I'm like, "It's Ryan." And
It's
they'd be
not
like,
Toot.
"What?" And then we just have a conversation for like an hour.
That
So you
sounds
never
like
know.
fun.
The next time you're out in LA, we're gonna all get together. I
We
know
gotta
I
get
like you.
ramen again. We gotta go back to that spot.
Definitely. I appreciate it, Christy. Thank you
This
for
is so
everything. And
great.
I hope I didn't bore you. And
Never,
yeah,
never. You're a delight. Thanks,
thanks so
Ryan.
much.